You're not born to rule people, you're born to lift them. When you choose power over people, everything breaks. But when you choose people over power, you build a legacy. This message will challenge your leadership, your ego, and your future. When you choose power over the people, everything will change. The critical crossroads. There comes a time in every leader's life, in every human heart, when a choice must be made. Do I serve the people, or do I serve my ego? Do I rise with the people or rise above them? Many rise to power claiming to uplift others. But somewhere along the way, power becomes more important than purpose, and control outweighs compassion. And that moment changes everything. Fire Part 1. The nature of true power. True power was never meant to be a throne. It was meant to be a torch. Power, in its highest form, is service. It's not about standing above others. It's about lifting others up. Think of great leaders, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Abdul Sadarad Hai. They didn't dominate, they didn't silence, they empowered. But when someone chooses power over people, they exchange legacy for fear, love for manipulation, respect for obedience. And that is when decline begins, not just of their influence, but of their soul. Part 2. The illusion of control. Power over people creates an illusion. You feel untouchable, respected, worshipped, but in reality you are feared, not followed. People obey your words but hate your presence. They clap out of duty, not love. They salute you, but in their hearts they mourn the death of justice. Power that suppresses eventually self-destructs. History has shown us this. Dictators fall, tyrants fade, and selfish empires always crumble. What remains? The echo of regret, the whisper of what could have been. Part 3. Why people matter more than power. When you choose people over power, you become immortal in their memory. You inspire generations beyond your time. You become a light in their darkest hours. When you choose power over people, you build walls, not bridges. You gain followers but lose loyalty. You win the battle, but you lose the nation, the family, the company, or even your own peace. Power is addictive. It can blind even the best. But the truly powerful know when to put the crown down, when to listen instead of command, when to serve instead of rule. Part 4. Real-life examples. Example 1. The fall of empires. Empires ruled by fear. Rome, Soviet Union, Nazi Germany rose on the backs of control and collapsed under the weight of injustice. Why? Because no system that puts power over people can last. Example 2. Leadership in business. In business, CEO who ignore employees and customers eventually face decline. Short-term gains may come from exploitation, but long-term success only comes through people. First, leadership. Think of Apple under Steve Jobs. Visionary, yes, but his transformation came when he began putting customer experience and team unity ahead of ego. Part 5. How to choose people over power. Daily practices. Lead by listening. Listen deeply before you speak. People will tell you what they need if you care enough to ask. Serve with humility. Be the leader who cleans the floor if needed. Leadership is service in disguise. Make people feel seen. Validate efforts. Acknowledge struggles. Appreciation is a more powerful motivator than fear. Elevate others. True leaders build other leaders. Help people grow. Their growth is your true legacy. Reflect on your why. Ask yourself often, why am I doing this? If the answer is ego, control, or revenge, you're off track. Conclusion: everything will change when you choose power over people. You may change your bank balance, your image, your external status, but when you choose people over power, you change lives, hearts, and history. And in doing so, you become powerful beyond measure. Remember, your strength is not in how much you control, but in how many you uplift. Because at the end of your story, people will not remember what you own. They will remember how you made them feel. A call to action. So today, choose compassion over command. Choose legacy over leverage. Choose people always over power, because when you do, everything will change. For the better, forever. The psychology of power, why it corrupts. Let's understand why choosing power over people is so tempting and so dangerous. Power activates the brain's reward centers. It gives you a sense of superiority, instant gratification, and control. But it also dulls empathy. The higher people climb without internal discipline, the less they feel others' pain. That's not leadership, that's emotional decay. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Lord Acton starts small, ignoring feedback, dismissing opinions, making decisions without consultation, using fear instead of trust. Before long, you become a ruler, not a leader, a dictator in your home, your team, your world. But here's the truth: true strength is emotional intelligence, true leadership is influence without intimidation. Part 7: How to reclaim your power without losing yourself. If you've already tasted power and feel its grip, this is your path to redemption. 1. Audit your influence. Ask your team, your family, your friends, how do I make you feel when I lead? You might be shocked by the honesty, but it will set you free. 2. Decenter your ego. The greatest leaders step aside to let others shine. You don't need to be the loudest voice. You need to be the wisest guide. 3. Serve silently. Do acts of service without recognition. Lead meetings quietly. Support someone's idea instead of pushing yours. That's soul-level strength. 4. Build legacy, not authority. Ask yourself, what do I want to be remembered for? Your power or your impact? Part 8. When the people rise, the turning point. History tells us that when people are suppressed long enough, they rise. If you choose power over them, you may delay rebellion, but you will never silence truth forever. Revolutions begin in silence. Resistance grows in the dark, and one day the voices you ignored become louder than your commands. When you abuse power, you plant seeds of rebellion, but when you nurture people, you plant forests of respect that outlast lifetimes. Part 9. The sole cost of misused power. Misused power does not only destroy nations, it destroys your peace. You lose sleep, trust, love. You become paranoid, guarded, empty, even if the world thinks you've won. The human soul wasn't made to dominate. It was made to connect, to uplift, to heal. And no amount of power will ever fill the void of a neglected conscience. Part 10. The hero's choice. You have a chance to change right now, whether you're a parent, a CEO, a politician, or just someone trying to lead their own life. You have 2 choices. Choose power, control, fear, and watch everything externally grow while internally crumbles. Choose people, integrity, respect, and build something eternal. The greatest leaders are those who use their power to protect the powerless. Be that leader. Because when you lead from love, you don't just change the system, you change the soul of humanity. Emotional climax. Speak this to their hearts. When you choose power over people, you may dominate headlines, but you lose hearts. You may win elections, but you lose trust. You may build monuments, but your name will fade in bitterness. But when you choose people over power, you ignite hope in a hopeless world. You lead in silence, but echo for eternity. So the next time life gives you a throne, ask yourself, will I sit on it or stand beside the people who built it? Because when you choose people over power, everything will change, not just for you, but for the world. The spiritual truth. Power without compassion is hollow. There is a spiritual truth across every religion, every culture, every wisdom tradition. He who lifts others will himself be lifted. When you choose power over people, you violate a sacred law of nature, interdependence. We are not meant to rise alone. You are not on earth to rule others. You are here to awaken others. Power used to crush the weak is not power, it's cowardice dressed in gold. But when you love, guide, and serve others, something incredible happens. You don't need to demand loyalty. You earn it. You don't need to command respect. You radiate it. You don't need to chase followers. They are drawn to you like light. That's not leadership. That's divine influence. Part 12. The generational ripple. What will your children remember? Ask yourself this now. When my child hears my name, will they feel fear or pride? Because when you choose power over people, your own family suffers the most. Your children inherit your patterns. They grow up believing fear is normal. They learn to dominate instead of understand. You don't just damage your present, you infect your future lineage. But if you choose people, if you show empathy, humility, and respect, then your name becomes a shield for them, not a scar. Every decision you make with power creates a ripple, a culture, a story, a future. So choose wisely, because your legacy is not what you leave to people, it's what you leave in them. Part 13. The turning point of every great leader. Every great leader in history faced a moment of choice: to feed the ego or fuel the people, to rule with fear or lead with faith, to dominate or to develop. Gandhi, Mandela, Prophet Muhammad, Piba, Martin Luther King Jr. They had the power to control, but they chose to elevate, and that's why we remember them not just as leaders, but as legends. They made power humble. Will you? Part 14. What happens when you finally choose people over power? Let me paint the vision. You wake up and you're no longer feared. You are loved. People come to you not because they must, but because they trust. Your presence calms the room. Your words ignite belief. Your actions speak louder than your title. You are not a boss. You are not a tyrant. You are not a title. You are a light, and wherever you walk, people grow in your shadow. That's not fantasy, that's reality. When you choose people over power. Part 15. Your final choice. This is your moment right now. You are being called to lead, not with control, not with cruelty, but with courage. Will you silence the voices around you to protect your ego? Or will you empower others to become greater than you? Because here's the truth. You were not born to be feared. You were born to be followed with love. You were not born to manipulate. You were born to multiply others. You were not born to dominate. You were born to deliver. Power over people is the path of the small-minded. People over power is the path of the world changers. So decide now, will your life be a warning or an example, emotional punch? Let these words burn in you. When you choose power over the people, you might rise faster, but you fall harder. You might win applause, but lose your soul. You might gain attention, but lose affection. You might rule today, but be erased tomorrow. But when you choose people, you build what power never can: loyalty, love, and legacy. Everything will change the moment you choose this path. The world doesn't need more rulers. It needs more real leaders. So rise, not above the people, but with them.